Hyundai Heavy Industries is really a global leader in shipbuilding, and also Maersk is a global leader within container shipping. So this is a really milestone order for us at Climeon, and it's a lot of hard and dedicated work behind this order, and it's also a clear strategy and a plan behind this. So that is what we will give you an update on in this presentation today. And the two of us presenting today will be me, Lena Sundquist, CEO of Climeon, and also our CFO, Carl Arnesson. So we will first have a presentation part, and then the chat will be open for you to ask questions. And today we have many new people in this call as well. It's great that so many has attended with very short notice. So therefore we will give an update and a background of what we do at Climeon. And our vision at Climeon is to reduce global CO2 emissions, to accelerate the use of sustainable power. And the way we do that is through our world-leading heat power solutions. And what we do with the heat power solution that we have is that we convert low temperature heat into clean carbon-free electricity. And what we mean with low temperature heat is heat around 80 and 100 degrees. And that kind of heat within water, we can convert that into sustainable electricity. And that kind of heat is available in a number of applications. First of all, that kind of heat is available on board ships. It's waste heat from the ship's engine. That heat is available within industries. It's available within the power industry, and it's also available in the form of geothermal power. And we have installations on all of those market areas. And Climeon as a company was founded in 2011. We are around 45 people with our headquarters outside Stockholm in Sweden. And we have around 40 units in operation today, of which 30 of those are installed on board ships. And the system that we have installed and in operation today producing sustainable power is our HeatPower 150 system. And what we launched last year was our HeatPower 300 system. And that is what we have started selling now. And that is what this order is about. So how do we do this then? What we do is that we take in hot water between 80 to 100 degrees. It's coming in through a heat exchanger, and that heat is then heating up a working fluid inside our unit. And this working fluid that we are working with has a boiling point lower than water. So this fluid then starts to evaporate. It goes through a turbine and a generator to produce sustainable power. That working fluid is then cooled down through a condenser, so it needs a cold source, and on board ship that cold source is the seawater around the ship. And then that working fluid is cooled down, then it's heated up again. So as long as there is heat available and there's also a cold source available, this system works 24/7 all the time, continuously, and it's not dependent on weather and wind and availability of solar or anything like that. We need a hot source and a cold source to make this work. And what we have been developing is our HeatPower 300 system. It's built with the knowledge of our previous system, but we have taken a lot of new knowledge into account, and we really make this market-driven R&D development. So we're taking in all the requirements from the industry, and we started with putting up all the requirements that the shipping industry has, because shipping industry is has a lot of demands. First of all, they want to have really cost-efficient solutions. It needs to work very, very well on board because the crew working on board a ship, they don't want extra work on board. It just needs to work. So it has to be very, very good operational wise. It needs to live up to all the maritime certifications. And it also needs to be compact to be fitted on board a ship. So there's a lot of requirements from the shipping industry, and we also set a clear target to cut the cost from our previous system solution, our HeatPower 150, when developing this. So we should cut the cost of the system by 50% to make power much more cost efficient with this system. So this system is developed in order to have a 5-year payback time. And that 5-year payback time is including our system. It's also including installation cost and operational cost. And it's designed to meet both maritime regulations, and the first version will also be available for the European land-based market. Because it's so that when you have a solution working on board ship, and you know it's adaptable for ships, it's quite easy to adapt it also for the land-based market. It's much more difficult to go the other way around. So the maritime market, and that's the focus here. And what is the focus in the maritime market now is, first of all, it should be as cost efficient as possible to operate a ship. So ship owners want to cut fuel as much as possible, to use as little fuel as possible. It's also a lot of focus on decarbonization and to make the ships as energy efficient as possible with little CO2 emissions, both because there's coming a lot of legislation around this, both from IMO, which is International Maritime Organization, but also from more regional or local regulations, as for example, European regulations. But then there's also a lot of pressures now on ship owners from their customers to have as little CO2 emissions as possible. So, for example, if a car company or a cloth manufacturer wants to buy shipment, they want to buy them with as little CO2 emissions as possible, because that is them good when they are selling their goods to end consumers. So there's a lot of pressures now on ship owners to cut emissions as much as possible. And that is what we see now, that a number of ship owners really go in the forefront and wants to cut CO2 emissions as much as possible. So there's a lot of interest around system like ours. And many ship owners, they've done the easiest things. I mean, there's easy things you can do on board a ship to cut CO2 emissions, but then to cut it as much as 70% or even make the fleet CO2 neutral, then you have to start installing system like ours in order to cut emissions even more. So we see a bigger and bigger interest all the time for our system in the maritime industry. So with this system, we can save up to 5% fuel on board a ship. And we have designed it to have 5 years payback time. And it's also a flexible system, so it can be installed both on new built vessels, like the order we have taken now at the yard in South Korea, and it can also be installed on board an existing ship. It's always much easier to install it already at the construction and to have it been designed already from the beginning, but it's also possible to install it on board an existing ship. And every year there's around 1,500 to 1,800 new built ships being built around the world. And we see that our solution, we have designed it to be able to operate with good performance and good paybacks around 30% of these vessels. So that gives us an addressable yearly market of around 500 to 600 ships per year, only in new built ships. And then in addition to this comes the retrofit market. So the order that we signed and published yesterday, that was a 2.5 million euro order from Hyundai Heavy Industries. And it is 6 HeatPower 300 units, and it will be 1 HeatPower unit installed on board each of those 6 vessels. And these vessels that Maersk is now building, it's so-called dual fuel ships. So it can be run with normal fuel, like liquid fuel, and it can also be operated on methanol. So it can be been operated on normal methanol, but also on so-called e-methanol or non-fossil methanol. And this system will gives a much better energy efficiency and save fuel and save CO2 emissions on those ships. And the systems from Climeon will be delivered next year. And then it will be a series of deliveries for those 6 vessels. And this is, of course, nothing that happens easily. It's been a lot of really, really hard work to make this happen. And the marine team in Climeon has worked with a number of ship owners and a number of shipyards for a long time and are continuously doing so. And this project, together with Maersk, is something that we worked on a long time. We already have, since a couple of years back, HeatPower 150 system installed on board a Maersk vessel, which is in operation. So it was a natural thing to do for us to continue with this cooperation, and now having the HeatPower 300 system being sold to Maersk. And it is great that we could do it in Hyundai Heavy Industry because it's a really good yard to work with in South Korea, and the yard and the shipbuilder in the world that builds most gross tonnage. In addition to what we do within marine, and I would like to highlight this here as well, is that, I mean, as I said, with this HeatPower 300 system, it's been designed to work for ships and being a really good fit for ships. But designing a system for ships then makes it also quite easy to adapt this for the land-based market. And we see a large interest now also from the land-based market for energy efficiency, but also to produce sustainable power. Because as you all know, there's a growing need for electricity in the world. And it's also a growing interest for sustainable electricity, both to cut CO2 emissions, but also because industries cannot rely on getting electricity from the grid. And also many industries, countries want to get away from fossil fuel as much as possible and produce electricity in other ways. So the first order that we took for this industry was in May, and that was for an industry application in Lithuania. So there we will have the 2 first HeatPower 300 units installed. And with this first order, we also started work with our supply chain, or of course we have worked with the supply chain for a long time, but the production planning started for these 2 first orders. And now we will also add these new 6 HeatPower 300 for Maersk and Hyundai Heavy Industries into this product planning. So that was the commercial update part. And now it is open for you if you would like to ask any questions, either to me or to Carl. And for this session, I will hand over to Laura, who is the one moderating our Q&A session for us.
Thank you very much, Lena, and welcome, Carl. As per usual, you can either post your question in the chat function, and then, or alternatively, you can raise your hand and we will then give you the floor from here. We do have some pre-registered questions, but it is of course always nice to have some interactions from the people who are here. We are almost 50 people on the lines, which is great. While you think about potential questions, we can take a first one. Which is one of the questions that have been sent in. This one is for you, Lena. What are the long-term implications for the company regarding this order, especially in terms of new orders for HP 300?
Yeah. In the maritime industry, of course, everyone is looking at what Maersk is doing, and everyone is looking at what Hyundai Heavy Industries is doing. So it is fantastic for us to be able to book such an order and take such an order with really market leaders within the industry. So yeah, we have a number of projects that we are working on and continuously working on, and this will spread the word even more about our solution. And also, I mean, it's fantastic that these two companies, they have done a really dedicated work to look into different solutions, and they have also done audits of us at Climeon, and that was something that we wrote in the last report, that we have had customers doing audits at us and at our production and going through all our processes. And that's of course these two players which does audit and approve suppliers before taking such an order. So everyone knows within the industry that this type of order has been placed after a proper going through of all our Climeon as a company, our processes, our production, and our documentation and our product.
Very good, thank you very much. We have the first question in the chat. Was the decision to use the HP 300 a requirement by Maersk, or was this decided independently by Hyundai?
Oh, I hope I understood the question correctly, but in a marine sales process, and especially this type of process, and an order or a product like this always needs to be approved both by the ship owner, so Maersk in this case, and also from Hyundai, the shipyard. So they have both been part of deciding this. And we described this also in the last report and the last presentation, that a sales process first starts with the ship owner. So we start with the ship owners, and they want to save fuels and save CO2 emissions, and we do a lot of work together with them to do calculations and seeing how much fuel and seeing how much CO2 emissions that we can save. And then the ship owner then put it into the yard specification that it should either be an ORC solution or waste heat recovery system. And then the work starts together with the yard, but it's always in the end the ship owners that decides which solution and which supplier that should be installed, especially in applications like this, which has not been in the shipyard specification for a long time. It's a new type of product which is now being included in the yard specification, and that always need approval from the ship owner.
Very clear, thank you very much. All right, I think we have a follow-up question here. Are there any ongoing discussions with Hyundai regarding HP300 and other customers?
Those of you that's been following us for a while, I never disclose things before we have disclosed it. I mean, when we had the Q1 update and when we had the Q1 report, we were at the same time negotiating this Lithuanian order, but we couldn't say anything about it then, but we published it the day after. And in this case, we have had this negotiation for a long time. So of course we knew that this would most likely happen also in the Q2 report, and now we could release it. So we have a lot of ongoing discussions with customers, but I will not disclose any names or any information about that before it's time to publish it.
Very good. So according to the Nasdaq rules. And then a question for Carl. How profitable is the order and how profitable is it compared to the order from Lithuania?
Yes, thank you. I think I touched based on that topic in the Q2 presentation as well, that we believe that the maritime section for us is a bit lower when it comes to profit margins compared to if you compare to the land-based applications, and if you compare these two orders, which is in a way not ideal to do since it contains a bit different when it comes to different services and stuff like that, but the profit margin for the Lithuanian order is of course slightly higher than this one, although that we believe that the maritime industry there we can find higher volumes compared to the land-based applications.
Very good, thank you very much. We do have one question in the chat, and I said if you would like to ask a question, now is a very good time. For how long will HP 150 continue to be marketed?
Yeah, HP 150, that is a product within our portfolio, and we have 40 units in operation in various markets. So we have a number of units still in installation phase. So we are working on installing all of those, and we are continuously supporting our customers with service and spare parts, and this we will do for a very, very long time and for the whole technical lifetime of these units. So this will continuously be an important product for us and also for our customers and continuously produce sustainable power. But then when we work with new customers, we always have a discussion together with the customer. How can we find the best solution for a certain customer? How can we find a really good solution for producing power for them and also to have a cost-efficient solution for a customer? And then we always come to HeatPower 300 solution, that is most cost-effective and the best solution for all of the new customer cases that we work with.
Very good. We do have two more questions that were sent in late last night, but after that we will wrap up. So if you have any more questions from the lines, please do not hesitate to post them either in the chat or raise your hand. Oh, here is one. What is the high temperature range for HP 300 and is it equal to HP 150? What is a desirable mass flow?
Yeah, as when it comes to temperature, HeatPower 150 can work at higher temperatures. Now we have set the limit to 100 degrees for HeatPower 300 in the first version, because that depends on what components that we choose within the solution. So now we have set that the best temperature working range for this product as it is today is between 80 to 100 degrees. Then there could be variants of these products being developed in the future for various applications and for various temperature ranges and sizes. but in the first version, we prefer to have temperatures from 80 to 100 degrees.
Very good, thank you. And one more question from the chat. Is the aftermarket services, etc., value included in the order? And if so, is further value aftermarket, and if so, is further aftermarket value after 5 years additional? So is it possible to have value after the 5-year period, basically?
Yeah, both for this Hyundai Heavy Industry order and also for the Lithuanian order, the order value is up until commissioning. And then after that, then there is, of course, a guarantee period, but it's also a time when we can start selling after service. So service business is not included in these 2 orders.
Very clear. Thank you very much. No further questions in the chat, it seems, so we will continue with one from the pre-registered ones. Lena, when can we expect the next order? I think you already answered that, but just to be super clear about that.
Yeah, I think I've already answered that. And I mean, of course, we have a number of customer projects that we work with, both in our land-based sales team and also within the maritime sales team. And this is continuous work. And when we sign this, we will publish it, but we will not disclose any information before that.
Very good. And then we have one more practical question as the last one. Can we expect a commercial update like this every time you sign a new order in the future?
For us, this was a special occasion, and since we just had our Q2 report presentation and we could not disclose anything around this order at this time, we thought this was a good timing to give an update, including this Maersk order, because it's quite a long time until we publish our Q3 report and have that presentation. So we wanted to take this opportunity this time to have a special commercial update around this. But the next time we have planned to make an update is when we have the full Q3 report.
Very good, very clear. Thank you very much. It seems we have no further questions, so I leave it to you, Lena, to wrap up the session.
Yeah. Thank you, all of you, for attending this commercial update, also with a very, very short notice in the middle of the summer. Yes, as I said, next time when we are planning to have a presentation like this is in connection with our Q3 report, and that will be published November 1st. But if you want to have updated information on what's happening at us at Climeon, the best channel to follow us is through our LinkedIn channel. That is where we post most updates and inform about things ongoing at Climeon. So thank you all for attending this presentation and wish you a continuously really good summer. Bye-bye.